and then coming into GetResponse, I'm going to use Firefox. And one thing about GetResponse, and I said this a few minutes ago, is that you're going to need to use Firefox and not Chrome. Chrome does not respond properly. And we're going to start with the messages that we have in our system. Right? So in this case, we have messages inside of this PLR package. In this case, the messages are here, the credibility email boosting system. This is the 5-day series. And here is our email. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come inside of GetResponse. We're going to start by creating an autoresponder. We're going to choose one of our lists. So in this case, you can either create a separate list for your prospects, and in most cases, you're going to want to do that first. So why don't we do that? Why don't we first create a separate list for our prospects? Inside of GetResponse, we can do that by going to this drop-down arrow. And I can click Create Campaign. I'm going to call this campaign Prospect List. I'm going to click Create Campaign. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here. I'm now going to create an autoresponder. And now I'm going to use that list. I'm going to create an autoresponder message on day 1 for the list we just created, which is prospect list. I'm now going to create a new email. I'm going to title this email the same thing as the subject line. Track your time with Evernote. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to the next step. I'm going to click Start from Scratch. Now that's going to be peculiar just to GetResponse. It may look differently inside of your autoresponder. But in general, you're going to start with a blank template, and you're going to send emails in a plain system. Right? That's going to open up into the GetResponse email template, hopefully here in a minute. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this text box into GetResponse. I'm going to take out the Latin text. I'm just going to cut and paste this email to the area. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this text. I generally, like I said, I like to take that out and just put a name. I'm going to substitute this area for my link to my product. Okay, so this is 16 point. One thing we can do is we can personalize this. In get response, all you'll do is go to this area. And I like to have the first name in there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to save this. We're then going to go to the next step. Actually, first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the plain text. We're going to convert this to plain text for those who receive only plain text emails. And you do need to do that inside of your autoresponder. So then I'm just going to space it out in the plain text side. That's not what I want to do. Okay, so now we have this done in the plain text side. What we can now do is we can go to our next step. And now our autoresponder message for day 1 has been created. Right, so now what I want to do? Well, I want to now create a message for day 2 so that the person, when they sign up, they're going to get 1 message a day promoting our product. And this is going to be the list they're going to be opted into when they come through our squeeze page. So what I want to do now is I now want to create a new message, right? Actually, I want to go back here. What I want to now do is I want to create a new message for day 2, right? And I want this message to be for day 2, this new one. And I'm now going to go through the same process. I'm not going to go back through this, and I'm going to go through this process for each of the emails, 1 through 5, or however many you have. You want to set up your emails so that you set them up for days 1 through 5. So if you're with me so far, please put the letter Y in the question box when setting up your autoresponders. Okay, so now what we have here is we have a series of messages for our prospects. What we also want to do is we want to have a message set up for the person who's going to buy the product. What I've done here is I've written a message that I'm going to place inside of on the download page. Okay, so this message is very basic. The message says, thanks for picking up whatever the product is. If you haven't yet seen your download, you can access it here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them the download link in that very first email. I'm also going to tell them, hopefully by now you've picked up the advanced version or whatever you call the upsell. You're going to give them the link to the upsell in the first email. You're also going to give them a support address and support email address. And if you have anything like a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, you want to add that in. Very simple message, and that's the very first message that you want people to get when they buy your product. Okay, so if you're with me right now, just based on what I've said, please put the number 2 in the question box. You understand this very first email and what it should be. Okay, very good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this email. I'm going to start a new list. I'm going to start a different autoresponder for a different list. Let's say that what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create an autoresponder now for the list, which is going to be new for the person that buys the product, right? So I'm going to create this new list. I'm going to create a campaign. I'm going to call this campaign New Product and I'm going to create this campaign. I'm now going to create another autoresponder. I want this to be for day 1 of the list I just created. I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to now create a new email. I'm going to give this message a name. Thanks for purchasing our content. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go to the next step. I'm going to pretty much go through the same process now, except now I'm putting this new email so that the person gets this email as soon as they opt in. Or I'm sorry, as soon as they buy the product. This is what they're doing right now. So we're going to give them this email. As soon as they buy, they should be getting this email from our autoresponder because we're going to set it up so that the person ends up on this email as soon as they make the purchase. Now, we're also going to be covered in case they don't want to have an email come to them when they, when they buy. We're gonna cover that by making sure that we add an opt-in box to our download page. And we're going to do that in another step. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out our text again. I'm going to now cut and paste. Right, there's our text. I'm going to now personalize this. And I'm going to now do the plain text. I'm going to do HTML to plain. And I'm just going to space out the text. And we're now going to close this. And we're going to save it. And we're now going to go to the next step. Okay, so we've now got message 1 for this new list. Okay, so if you're with me so far, please put the number 3 in the question box. If you're with me so far on creating a new email for the purchase. Okay, so now we have our new email so that when the person purchases, they're going to see that email come to them. We're also going to give them an opportunity to opt in on our download page by asking them to get updates. Okay, now let's close out this email. Okay, so we have set up our prospect list. We have set up a separate list for the buyers of our product now. Now what we need to do is we need to set up the automation rules for the buyers list. And we need to do that inside of GetResponse. So what are we going to do here? We're going to go now to automation. Let's see, let's make sure we save this. And basically what we're going to do now is we're going to create a workflow. Now inside of GetResponse, here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to call this remove from prospect list. And inside of GetResponse, I'm going to start the automation process when someone is subscribed to a specific list. Right? I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can size this up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start the process of automation when somebody is subscribed to a specific list. Right now, I'm going to determine what that list is going to be. I'm going to say that when someone is subscribed to by any method and any campaign, we're going to select the campaign, and we're going to select specifically the buyers list. Okay, so when somebody is subscribed to the buyers list, what do I want to happen? Well, what I want to happen is I want them to be taken off the prospect list automatically so that the person isn't getting 2 emails. So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to say remove the contact. So in this automation, I'm going to place this automation flow here. I'm going to now select the properties. I'm going to say now remove this person from a specific campaign. I'm going to say remove the person now from our prospect list. I'm going to connect this automation. So now what I'm saying is whenever somebody becomes a buyer, if they're on our prospect list, remove them so that they are only going to be getting 1 campaign. Is everybody with me right now? So if you understand what I did, please put the number 4 in the question box. Okay, if you don't understand, please let me know, and I'll be happy to explain it to you. Okay, so that's really all that we need to do. Now, again, every autoresponder system is going to be different. So this is the way it looks inside of GetResponse. You're going to need to do the same process inside of Aweber or Constant Contact, but you'll need to find out what the automation process is for your autoresponder system. Right? This is the way it's done in GetResponse. It's not going to look the same way inside of yours unless you're using GetResponse. Aweber is pretty similar if you find the automation. So again, all you're doing is removing someone from a prospect list as soon as they become part of your buyers list. Now, I have here, you want to set up automation rules for additional offers and lists, including affiliate offers if possible. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you want to have people taken off the prospect list. You're going to do this as many times as you can. So in other words, anything that happens, you want to have someone removed from your prospect list when an action occurs. Now, you're going to need to do this several times, but you only have to do it once, right? So anytime you create a new list that somebody who is on your prospect list could become part of, you want to make sure you go through this automation process to have them removed from the prospect list. Any new list you set up, have the prospect removed from the prospect list. Because what we're going to do with the prospect list is we're going to continue to add emails, right? Now, let's say that we get done with this series, right? Let's say the five-day series ends. Well, we don't want to just leave it at 5 days. We're going to assume then that if they haven't purchased anything, we want to continue to market to them. So what are we going to do? We're going to add in emails and we're going to automate them so that everybody who becomes part of our prospect list will continue to get emails until when? Until they actually buy something. Okay, so if that makes sense to you, please put the number 5 in the question box. If it doesn't make sense, please let me know. Okay. All right, so now what you're going to do, you're now set up inside of your autoresponder to send broadcast messages. All right, so I'm going to leave this here. And what we would do here is we would go to our buyers list. Inside of Get Response, we're going to then create a newsletter. Now the format's going to be the same, but this is going to be your broadcast email. These are going to be emails that you're going to be sending to people, doing promotions, telling them about training you have, and pretty much what you're going to be sending to them on a daily basis. Those are going to be your newsletters. Now that, again, that's what they're called in Get Response. They could be called something different in your autoresponder, but you are now ready to start sending broadcast messages, right? And finally, what you want to do is you want to try to keep your prospects on your sequence and keep your buyers on a broadcast. Now, again, if you set this up right from the beginning, it's going to work. And again, most people don't get this set up right from the beginning. And so they end up having to send broadcast messages to prospects as well as buyers. Now, again, if you can keep people who are purely prospects on an automated sequence until they become off, you're going to have better tracking and you're going to start your online business correctly, right, from your PLR.